Welcome back. It's still Good Morning, Nigeria. Let's now turn our attention to our second conversation, talking about the halal economy. The halal economy is an industry that covers all sectors of the economy, including food, cosmetics, pharmaceuticals, tourism, among others, where products and services must comply with religious guidelines.
Well, we have guests joining us to speak on this and an upcoming event which focuses on building a vibrant a halal economy. Well, let's welcome here and now to the studio Abdul Mutalab Diko, who is Head of Business Development, Dar Al Halal Group. It's a pleasure to welcome you to Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you.
And also here with us for the conversation is Aliyu Bunu Sharif, Social Assistant to the President on Export Expansion, Office of the Vice President. Many thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
All right. I think the first thing would be, you can see I was stumbling over the halal and then the al in your own name and all of it. Help us make sense of it. What is a halal economy?
Well, halal is an Arabic word which means permissible. So it's the opposite of what is not permissible, which we say haram. Yeah. So the halal economy is basically an economy that is driven by the ethics of business of the Islamic faith. So basically that is halal economy. And it encompasses everything. It encompasses food, pharmaceuticals, all the way to fashion, travel, and whatever it is.
A complete economy.
A complete
economy. But what is it that is permissible in the Islamic faith? Because that's the driving force of the halal economy.
So the Islamic faith has certain things that are not permissible for the Muslims. Example, alcohol or pork in feeds, indecent dressing for fashion, and traveling. Somehow the Muslims are supposed to travel in a certain way. The women might not be traveling alone without someone going with them, and all that you have. So that all is driven in the economy to determine how the Muslims live their own lives.
So I'm just thinking how this is going to work in Nigeria. Maybe I should come to you, Aliyu Bunu Sharif. He's talking about, what is permissible in Islam, considering the fact that we have different faiths in Nigeria. So how is this going to run, and how does it apply to us?
Yeah, I think what I would say is the concept of halal extends beyond its Islamic origins. It embodies ethics, integrity, and universal values that resonate across cultures and regions. So the halal economy is not just about compliance with religious practices, it's about ensuring that our products and services meet the high standards of safety, quality, and sustainability, like you said. In fact, it's worth to note that the halal economy is an emerging trend that influences even non-Muslim majority countries like Brazil, New Zealand, and Australia, which have become major exporters of halal products.
Is this going to be restricted to a certain part of the country, or is it going to be spread across the 36 states and the FCT?
It's going to be spread across. We're working on certain projects to initiate across all the states in the country. Well, if we're to emphasize that it's not exclusive to Muslims, it's important to note, for example, the success of sukuk bonds, which have benefited many communities in Nigeria, including in the south. So that underscores the universal appeal of halal finance. And even Islamic banks now have penetrated international markets, demonstrating that halal principles are indeed compatible with global economic standards. So it's an emerging trend,
Let's break this down a bit, because it's become a bit confusing. Now, he talked about various sectors of the economy. For instance, let me take tourism. Let me take travel.
Yes.
You run an airline.
Yes.
A Muslim woman is not supposed to travel all by herself. Someone, should have, which is fantastic. But if this does not work, considering that Nigeria is multi-ethnic, multi-religious, that, let's say, Yenre is going to travel, and that she doesn't need anybody to accompany her, she's just going to travel, does it mean she cannot use an airline run on the principles of this halal ethics?
If you look at it from that angle, you could say it's a bit confusing.
Yeah.
But if you check the tourism sector, you're seeing, okay, for example, like you said, the airline, if you're traveling, you're expected to sit either with your husband, with your brother, somebody that is permissible to you. Not necessarily, sometimes you may not travel alone by yourself.
Okay.
You know, there is no man that would want his wife to be close to another man. So it's not about Islam or the person is your husband or not. Just try to, you know, maintain those principles that.
No, but I'm thinking how you want to how you want to push this across the country, because like he already explained, in certain faiths, some things are permissible, all right. What Islam may not permit, for example, say alcohol.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. How is this economy really going to run? Is it that it's going to place restrictions on people generally, or just break that down?
Yeah, so, you know, like I said, it's more of the safety, the quality, and the sustainability of certain products. So if you look at cosmetics or pharmaceuticals, there are certain products that you would see, okay, it's alcohol-free. Even for the Christians, there is a limit to what they can take in terms of alcohol. Nobody wants to be drowsy or, you know, drunk at most times. So, or let's say using pork to produce certain products, and then you'd see, okay, there's gelatin that pork has been used. So we have substitute products such as meat or chicken that can be used to produce gelatin. So these are certain things that, okay, people would see. And then if you look at how neat things are done, for instance, if you go to certain abattoirs, you'd see that the environments are dirty. So the halal is saying, okay, make sure there's safety, there's quality, you know, in the area. And it's not about Muslim or Christians. Everybody wants to eat something clean to avoid certain diseases, cholera, and all sorts of things. So
Okay.
that's the angle to look at it from.
All right, beautiful. But just tell us how this is going to begin. Are you going to get people to enforce all of this? How are people supposed to, take part in all of this, just so that they abide by the rules and regulations?
You know, so it's much more of abiding by rules and regulations. Our goal is to explore how we can capture a greater share of this burgeoning market, which the focus is the Islamic Organization of Cooperation Countries. You know how wealthy they are to invest in certain things, and now is the time to attract foreign direct investment to really expand the economy. So the idea is to develop a comprehensive halal ecosystem in Nigeria, one that is supported by rigorous accreditation and standardization processes, which is the key thing. So we have international bodies that we're working with, such as the Islamic Development Bank, there's Halal Products Development Company in Saudi Arabia, to help us develop this framework. And basically is to ensure there are certain standards in complying with production of certain products. So it's not about Islamizing the country or saying, okay, there are rules for this or that. No. There's a sector that is interested in these things, or even the Muslim or Christian populations abroad, like I mentioned, Brazil, New Zealand, UK, and the rest. You see products with labeling of halal on it. So it's not about, no, this is for Muslims, that this has met certain standards, certain quality, and you can be confident that, okay, it's healthy for you to take. So that's the goal. And then obviously, like you mentioned, we'll have a stakeholder engagement program tomorrow, which is basically to gather all the stakeholders, both local and international, to brainstorm and see how we can develop the ecosystem. And most importantly, to create awareness, both here and abroad, that, okay, government is looking at other avenues to expand the economy. From there, then we expect to see, okay, we'll have partners abroad that would want to bring in their funds for that sector.
All right, Bunu Sharif, thank you very much for those clarifications. Let me get back to Abdulmutalab Diko, who is head of business. You must have a bit of a hard job to do, because I say this, you intend to grab your share of the market, right? Yeah. But because of the fine lines, limitations, restrictions, how easy will it be for you to achieve your own aim or your goal, which is to grab a sizable share of the market, the Nigerian market?
Well, first of all, it's not just about the Nigerian market. It's about the global market. The Muslim population in the world is already hitting 2 billion. And it's projected to get to 3 billion by maybe 2025, 2030. Now, if you look at that, that's almost half of the population of the world. And if you are going towards that, these are people that need these products. So it's not just about the Muslim population. It's about a market that is there worth over $5 trillion annually. How do you get a piece of it? When we looked at it, Nigeria was just getting a piece of the export to these OIC countries. was getting a 0.12% of the entire export into these OIC countries. Now, whatever it is that we can do to push, it's not just about the Muslim companies. It's about a whole industry that you can do, you can get into to make as much as you can. Now, Brazil is typically, we'll say, a Christian country. Yes, last year, Brazil exported $5 billion worth of meat, halal meat, to the OIC. I mean, if Nigeria can be able to grab a piece of that, that is going to be a lot.
What makes a particular meat halal meat and another not halal?
Okay. So basically, halal meat is meat slaughtered according to the Islamic rites. That's by pronouncing the name of God while slaughtering the animal. And actually, a whole process from breeding the animal to the feeding and to the slaughter, ensuring all the standards of hygiene and health, and be able to sell out quality, healthy meat, which, as he said, if you go to our abattoirs now, sometimes you wouldn't want to eat the meat. But if we are able to standardize, I mean, our exports are going to be acceptable everywhere. Some of the problems we have in Nigeria, especially in exporting our products, is they don't meet the standards required by other countries. Now, when we go for halal, it allows us to standardize. It allows our products to go not just to the Islamic countries, but to the whole world. So, I mean, it's difficult a bit. Sometimes people say Islamizing Nigeria. But if you look at it, it's not just about Islam. It's about a whole business opportunity that we have. And the whole Nigeria can come together and exploit that. So it's a bit difficult when we want to sell to people and we say halal, and they only think Islam. But when you have a holistic look at it, it's an opportunity that the whole of Nigerians can get into, whether Muslim or Christian, and you can grab a whole lot of it and be able to improve our own situation, our economic situation, get in line with the federal government's drive for diversification, and we export, bring in foreign direct investment, and I think it is going to be easier, especially with the help of the federal government.
All right. Of course, Aliyu Bunisheriff, I'd like to get you back to you. You're the Special Assistant to the President on Export Expansion, Office of the Vice President. You know, someone may be wondering, apart from the halal economy, you know, I mean, there are countries who do not really want the halal standard and they're ready to take any kind of export. We're yet to even improve that kind of export, and now we want to go into halal, which requires more dedication and all of that. What would you expect, you know, Nigerians to do, you know, as regards this, you know, halal economy, and what kind of export are we looking at in this?
Well, you know,
what kind of products are we looking at?
Yeah, I understand. So, you know, somehow, like he mentioned, it's a win-win for everything. It's not really the halal sector we're looking at. It's generally the export sector. One of the bottlenecks that Nigerian exporters have always had is this challenge of rejection when they take their goods abroad. And why is that? Because of certain standardization that is not there. So if you say, okay, you're going by the halal economy, which makes, which ensures that there is certain standardization, certain products, which would help. Let's say the agricultural produce, let's say the cosmetic, the pharmaceuticals, all these items are things that are exportable. And once you meet certain standards, regardless of being halal or not, you are expected to be able to export them to certain countries. You know, the market, which is about $5 trillion, like he mentioned, is an opportunity for us to really tap into, which will be able to help us diversify the economy in line with Mr. President's mandate, generate foreign exchange, and even for sustainable growth. And that is our goal. Nigeria, being one of the largest Muslim populations in the world, has already emerged as the 8th largest domestic halal economy. And it's expected to grow from $107 billion currently to $180 billion by 2027. So these are not just numbers, they are opportunities that we can tap into. In fact, based on the halal market report that Dar al-Halal did, if Nigeria can increase its halal exports from 2% to 6% to the OIC countries, or in fact to anywhere actually, It could increase our GDP by $548 million within 4 years. Moreover, we could strategically improve to $1 billion by 2027 if we could do import substitution measures. So there's a whole lot of things that we can benefit from the sector.
Okay, thank you very much. Abdul Muttalab, I'll get back to you now. How are you going to mobilize the resources? Because you need to a lot of investment to make this happen, to even get it going. Yeah. How do you intend to get that? Is it foreign direct investment? Is it local investors that you are looking into?
Well, it's difficult, but it's also easy. You see, as the world population grows, there is demand. Yeah. Recently, the Saudi government came to Nigeria specifically asking what Nigeria can offer. Now, the OIC countries, or I will say the GCC countries, are some of the countries that have a lot of cash with them because of the oil they have. Saudi Arabia, for example, came to Nigeria asking for hay, that's fodder grass, red meat, soybeans, which was going to be getting to about $2.2 billion annually. Now, the question is, how do Nigerians get the investments to be able to satisfy that? Mm-hmm. Saudi Arabia has some funds that they need to invest. Now, by the help of the government, we should be able to pull in foreign direct investments for us to be able to get the required money or investments into this particular work. Now, apart from that, it also has to do with the ease of business, which is going to be pushed by the government as well as having the Nigerian business community buy into the halal economy. As we said, a lot of people have the conception of Islam when you say halal. But the truth is, it is an opportunity for you to make a lot of money if you are able to invest into that. So there's going to be some work done for us to be able to get people on board, but getting the investments from the GCC countries and from within, especially with the federal government pushing for the developments, particularly in agriculture, in livestock. I think we're going to make it.
All right. The figures you've been mentioning, Aliyu Bunu Sharif, have been very interesting, of course, enticing. Anyone who want to dive into this, to get all the benefits you're talking about. But you talked about the fact that we are 2% at the moment, or thereabout, and hoping to get to 6%.
If we could get to 6%.
Okay, so the 2%, what are we doing at the moment? What are the products we're exporting that are meeting halal requirements?
Generally, we're looking at beef exports, which mostly have been informal. In fact, if we could formalize some of our exports, it could really be more than that, the numbers. But there has been beef exports, certain agricultural products, like you mentioned, soybeans, sesame seed, millet, wheat, all these things have been exportable. But the idea is to be able to raise it to the next level by making sure that it's being formalized, and then obviously bringing in direct investments to be able to push further to increase the numbers.
All right, and are there actions? Are there actions that violate a typical halal economy? What you would expect, how you expect those who intend to participate to conduct themselves, whether as investors or as those consumers or customers?
Well, it's a tricky one here, because actions are driven by the people that make them, and sometimes you cannot control how the flow is. But the general conception is that yes, there are actions that violate the halal processes. If you look at animal care alone, the handling of animals, sometimes if we look at how we handle animals here, it contradicts the Islamic values. There is need for care and in the whole process, supply chain, getting to the slaughter, and then the processing of the meat. It does. In the finance sector, there is actually prohibition on interest, whether you give or you take interest. So it also contradicts a bit of how the Islamic financing models go. So yes, they do, but generally it is limited, the contradictions, because for the consumer, you ask for halal, you get halal. There's no restriction there.
Okay.
The only thing is, how do I do my financing? I probably deal in alcohol-related business, and then I inject the money into the halal processes. You see, now it's difficult for me getting to know about that, but that makes it a bit
But
complicated.
that ordinarily shouldn't
Yes,
be.
that shouldn't be.
No.
We should be able to have clean financing, interest-free financing. We have various forms of financing, from the sukuk to the mudaraba, musharaka, istisna. All these are products, financing products, that are relatively similar to the conventional banking system or financing system. The only difference is the interest-free.
Okay.
So yes, we've been able to have some financial institutions coming on board in Nigeria doing the Islamic banking, and we are hoping that it develops further.
Away from banks to individuals also coming with their finance. But when you talk about clean financing,
Yes.
a Nigerian would ask, how do you want to get corruption-free finance from all of this?
Well, that is not for us to really determine, but we do as much as possible to ask for corruption-free society. So, yeah. We can,
All right, we're about to round up this conversation. You talked about an event that is happening tomorrow. You want us to, who are those that are free to attend this event? What is the event about, and what will it bring on the table?
So the event is open to actually everybody. There's a limit to the number of people that could attend, but we're going to have virtual presence for any other person that wants to attend. Basically, we've invited all the related stakeholders to the halal economy, and they're all the same with our export sector stakeholders, or even general the business sector, to come and discuss, like I said, build a comprehensive halal ecosystem in Nigeria, one that is supported by rigorous accreditation and standardization processes. And we would like to inform them that we have international collaborations with, let's say, Halal Products Development Company in Saudi Arabia, the Islamic Development Bank, there's D8 Organization for Economic Cooperation from Turkey, who are all trying to support this emerging trend to see how we can take it to the next level. I think I must emphasize the critical role of media in this endeavor. There needs to be public awareness facilitated, maybe through workshops, seminars, and campaigns that will be able to drive the consumer demand and encourage local businesses to enter the halal market. And then obviously to be able to change the narrative and the misconception that, okay, it's for Muslims or the government is trying to Islamize. No, it's beyond that. It's about safety, quality, sustainability, that resonate across cultures and regions.
Where is this event holding, and at what time?
Yes, so it's going to be holding at the State House Banquet Hall by 10 a.m.
Tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow by God's
All
grace.
right.
I'll try to be there. I hope I'll be allowed.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
All right, many thanks for joining us, Aliyu Bunusheri, Special Assistant to the President on Exports Expansion, Office of the Vice President. Thank you for being our guest. And of course, Abdul Mutalab Diko, Head of Business Development, Da Al Halal Group. Thank you for being a part of the conversation. Of course, we look forward to all of this succeeding and having you back on the program to talk about the impact and the gains we have made. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, so that's Good Morning Nigeria this Tuesday. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ian Ray John. Remain tuned to the NTA.
And I'm Victor Azui. Thank you very much for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your day.